I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at villageXchange@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
So here we are in a DJ stream for the big homie Jules.
There he is.
Here
right
he
there.
Is, sitting upon his throne with his cane.
Jaw upon him,
looking all
Tron.
ominous.
Jaw upon him, Tron.
If you're wondering what a DJ stream is, it's where you get to pick the songs that we listen to. It's a minimum of 4 songs. And if you're interested in finding out what that entails, email us, vinandsori@gmail.com. And if you're asking why Vin and Sori, that's because this is Vin and I'm Sori.
There you are, dear listeners.
And is what keeps us together.
The photos that we took on our weekend getaway are the best she's ever seen. Amy says, you were so happy.
It was fun.
We were happy. It was great.
Really fun.
Gang, gang, gang. Shout out to everybody that mossed with us, bro. That was the shit. That was so good. All right. Tuna in the Brine. Silverchair. Let's go.
I found the keys to my heart when everyone's heart seems so found the lock to my dorm and opened the doors to my trust. Find love is true. Let in my darkest hour. It's fair. Denies me of anything. So don't lose your heart, you'll miss it. Painting a lie, seeing the colors, but you seem closer to everything. Painting a lie, seeing the colors, but you seem closer to everything. Painting a lie, seeing the colors, but you seem closer to everything. Closer now than we ever have been. We're closer now than we ever should. We'll be closer now than we've ever been before. Closer to everything. Lost in the change and changing everything. Fables, I'm changing everything. There's no time to shine like a tuna in the brine. From my broken parts, I'm changing everything. So one of the animals who keep sipping the sweat from my back.
Yeah.
You're making me ill and I can't get enough. So take another pill and tell another lie. A lie amongst your lies, like tuna in the brine.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not really a fan of the tuna in the brine metaphor.
Well, what is tuna in the brine? Is there like little?
Yeah, it's tuna fish, and then you open the can. That thing that it's in is the brine.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's not very appealing when you open it and look at it.
Well, I
It's
think
gross.
that's the point of this song.
Yeah, but I'm not really a fan
It's
of
not
that.
poetic sounding.
Yeah, the metaphor's kind of weird, bro. Like I felt like you could have done something else
Yeah,
with
I
that,
agree.
but
I agree with that.
because
But
it's all packed together. And
at
it
the
just
same
stays
time-
there over time. It never changes. That's
That's the point,
That's the
though.
goal of the brine. So it's like you're just a never changing liar. This guy's like giving up. Hey, shout out to Zombie Holic. Appreciate the super chat. Zombie Holic, much love. I think, yeah. I mean, I get the point. It's tuna in the brine. It lasts for a very, very. I mean, it's almost forever, right? That's why it's canned. It's a canned food, so canned food can last whatever.
Yeah.
So you open it, it's not very appealing, it's smelly, and it can stay like that for forever. So it looks like this person's a liar or whatever, and he's saying like, you're never gonna change. You're gonna be old and stinky and whatever, and still gonna be a horrible liar and all the rest of it. I think is what he
Well,
was
chooses
saying.
that.
I'm sorry.
That's what he chooses, but he's trying to present this as
What do you mean that's what
a
he's-
bad choice, right? Because at the
I
end-
agree. I agree completely. He's saying it's a bad thing to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
just happening with the person. The person keeps making that choice. The light in my darkest hour is fear. I mean, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, that was a crazy line.
Denies me of anything good, so don't lose your heart, you'll need it. There's sometimes in life, and I know that this is completely wrong, and it's actually pushed me farther away from where I need to be as a person, but fear was something that I'm working my way out of it, not my way. Between me and God, we're going to get out of this, but like I have kind of relied on fear in different circumstances as like a protector.
Mm-hmm.
You need to speak closer.
No, it doesn't need to be closer.
You fixed it?
I was experimenting with something. Go ahead.
Okay. So, like for instance, after losing a baby, then when you have another baby, you're worried more that you might lose that one too.
Yeah.
And so fear was there to remind me to check the crib lots of times to make sure the baby was okay. And I always thought, well, if I let go of fear and then I forget to check the crib because I'm not fearful anymore, and then something happens and I find the baby, then I'm going to wish that I had held on to my fear because the fear could have protected from that eventuality.
Holy shit.
But then what?
No, that's...
I mean, the logic's there.
Brilliant logic, yeah. I mean,
But at
I
the
see
same time,
it.
what ends up happening is...
You get trapped in that
You
shit.
get trapped. You're completely trapped in it. And honestly, literally the only way out for me is to say, okay, if I believe that my God is in control of everything, then it doesn't matter if I have fear and if I check all the time if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And so sovereignty is the only thing that can take me out of that mindset. Otherwise, it is necessary for survival, in my opinion.
What, fear?
If I don't have the mindset... Are you listening?
I'm listening to you. I just don't understand how you could say it's necessary.
Did you hear what I said right before that?
Yeah, I think love can't love be accomplish the same things without fear?
No.
Love can't.
No. I think a trust in sovereignty can, but love is not going to accomplish checking on the crib as many times as, you know what I'm saying? Like,
No, I don't know what you're saying.
because,
That's what's motivating me to check on the crib or to check at the
babe,
thing
how
at
many
night.
times do you check the crib?
5 times a night when you're asleep.
You do?
Yeah. Like, for example, Reza gets up at 9 o'clock almost sharp every
Yes,
morning.
he does.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, it's possible. But my thing is, if I get focused on love, well, yeah, I mean, maybe you're right. It just seems like that fear keeps me vigilant.
Yeah, you're so afraid to release fear that you don't even have a experience contextually over time to even make such a distinction. Because you've never even tried it. It's always been about fear and it's not really...
No, it hasn't always been about fear.
Your family's a very, very
My
fearful...
family is, but I was not...
And then that's the
I didn't adopt that philosophy until later.
Okay. I think you're completely wrong, but okay. When did you adopt that philosophy? When you moved out and you got married?
Yeah, I would say so.
You weren't a fearful person before that. But then you became this massively terrified person who can't do anything and is paralyzed. But you were a complete free spirit before that.
I guess I was free compared to the rest of my family. Maybe that's what I'm doing.
Well, it
comparing
was
myself
never
to them.
really tested because where was the test for you? You were a suburban girl living in the with your parents. What did you have to be afraid of in the first place?
I mean, people dying that
You were walking
relied on.
Your family makes jokes about death all the time.
It's
B.
true,
What
though.
are you
I
talking
was fearful.
about?
That's why I always had to tell my parents every single time they got in the car. I had to say goodbye. I
Yeah,
love you. Drive safely. Wear your seatbelt.
Yeah, Sadie in the house.
And I was afraid
Gang,
if I didn't
gang,
say- if I missed on one of those things and they died, then it was going to be my fault.
Yeah, so you were always a fearful person.
Peace, babe.
It's so weird to me. Like, it's not an insult. It's just an observation.
It's not an insult.
It's an
Of course
observation.
It's insulting to realize that for you to say that to me, but I guess it's true.
What do
so-
you mean?
I don't like hearing it.
You said earlier that fear keeps you vigilant. So
yeah, but I
you
feel
were
like,
saying that
I feel like that now, and now I'm like at a phase where I'm like, I can't keep doing this. Fear is exhausting. Because when I use my fear to be the motivator to keep checking up on stuff, and every time everything's okay, then I say to myself, well, I mean, my word, imagine what it would have been like to relax, because there was no.
Well, yeah. I don't know why. Like, are you taking that as a criticism? You say I'm criticizing? Well, I'm not.
Of course, because I can readily admit that I've become a very fearful person, but
it's easier to say that you've become one than that you've always been. No, I think that you were raised that way to be afraid, though. That's what I like. Yes. I don't understand how it could have been any other way for you, considering your upbringing and considering.
I guess I always thought that I didn't subscribe to the same, because I didn't have the same level of fear as my family did.
Yeah, I mean, everything is on a scale. I agree, but I mean, and then it kind of gets exacerbated with me because I'm such an extremist on the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you're saying. I do, but literally the only thing that helps me again is God's sovereignty, God's total and ultimate control in everything that's happening. So after I lost my baby, I was like thinking through all the things that I could have done differently to prevented that. So I was thinking, I had decided that pregnancy that I was going to really try to stay in shape for the pregnancy, for the health of the baby, for the health of myself, so that way the delivery would be easier, like all that. And so I had gone on an exercise bike. And I didn't do anything crazy. I was just on the exercise bike pedaling around for like 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 20 at the most.
Yeah.
And, I had a phone call that at the time was extremely stressful, but now I look back and I'm like, that was nothing compared to.
Yeah, and then you.
And so I was
I was so stressed about it. You blame that person.
That I was like, if I wouldn't have had that phone call, like then maybe it wouldn't have happened. Like. But I think that it would be easier to blame that person for it than to blame myself for going on the exercise bike.
Or to blame God. Because I mean that was ultimately his call, right?
Yeah, but
you can't say that you trust.
That makes it easier.
Yeah, but you didn't blame God in that situation. You blamed the other person.
Yeah,
you blamed that person for years, bro.
Myself.
I know, and then you had to offload. You had to offload the blame onto somebody else. It was a really awkward. Well, I'll just say it. It was my ex. My ex said all that shit to her, and then she lost the baby a couple weeks later, or whatever.
It wasn't a couple weeks. It was that day.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way.
But I hadn't been in stressful situations.
But I knew there was no way that one phone call caused that. I knew there wasn't. But I also knew there was nothing I could say, because when you get in those modes, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like there's literally nothing anybody could say. Like if you think that that's what happened, then that's it. So it was a really awkward situation for me because I was trying to be your friend, but at the same time, like, I was married to her and here she's getting blamed for a murder, basically. And I truly, I was like, here we go again. Because, when Sale would do something wrong, it was Zoe's in. You know what I'm saying? Now that I was like, oh my God, here we go. But, it was so hard because I was like,
oh, yeah, I can imagine.
So I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, it was just because I'm like, I've been through multiple births and gestational periods, and she'd been through massive stress. You know what I'm saying? And she was able to, but it was just such a hard thing to do. But the residual effect of losing the child, like, it was a lot of fear for you. After that.
Because there wasn't a lot of support. It was a bad situation. But I started, once I was able to just say, okay, you know what, like, the phrase God gives and God takes away can sound so offensive. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like, if you can adopt that philosophy and understand that, then it's like, well, I mean, there are some things that it's not anybody's fault. It's right. That this is what was supposed to happen.
Well, I mean, that's why I said God's, like, I forgot. Oh, I was talking to Amy, actually. It was actually after the corn show, and we were talking about, like, tragedies or whatever, and she was talking about, blame or whatever, and I said, because I've lost people, she's lost people. I said, I don't blame you or myself for that. I blame God for both of them. And when I say blame, I don't mean to say blame in the pejorative sense. I mean to say that if it is true that you believe God is all powerful and all knowing, then if he wanted my mom to be here, she'd be here. And he'd change your dad tomorrow, like that, if he wanted to. So, and Amy's folks would still be here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just a raw fact of it. I'm at peace with that because I've been through enough of these to trust where, like, for example, you said to me, it was mind blowing, like after we had Orion or whatever, and you were like, now I understand why, you were happy that you didn't have a second kid, because that would have changed a lot of things as far as the trajectory of, your life and all the rest of it. So,
Absolutely.
a lot of times we get the benefit of that kind of paradigm. So my question to you is, when you're in the throes of fear, do you think about that? Do you say, hey, I had this miscarriage, but now that I look back at it, I see what God was doing. I was in pain for 7 years, not having any kids. I see what God was doing. Does that affect the fear thing at all, or does that not factor in?
No, it doesn't really factor in, because I don't really know why. Perhaps that's something I should, explore, but I don't think that it really factors in. It factors in when God says no about something. So again, it does factor in some instances.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't factor in when I'm in my bed and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, are both the babies okay? Up until they hit a certain point, I'm always worried about SIDS, and I'm worried that something's going to happen to them in their little cribs. So, and the other thing too is when I had just Selah, like, I could control so much of that environment.
Yeah.
And I knew that when I put her to bed, I knew what was in her crib. I knew what was around her room.
Yeah.
I knew it was, you know what I mean? And like, now it's like, there's so many people in our family. You don't know when somebody's going to alter the environment and you didn't realize it. So all of a sudden I start thinking about it and I'm like, I hope that, somebody didn't, leave an elastic in the baby's bed, or leave it, you know what I'm saying? Like,
No,
so,
I completely agree.
So that, like, kind of, I can't control the environment like I used to, because there's just too many people in a small space. Even if we had a big space, it wouldn't change the fact that everybody has their own opinions, everybody has their own agendas, and stuff can be altered and you don't realize it. You can leave the environment in a perfectly sane way, and you can come back and find it not like that.
Yeah.
And somebody has a reason for why they altered something.
Oh, no, I agree.
I
agree. I agree. But that's a crazy line. The light in my darkest hour is fear. Yikes.
And that's the thing. It's like,
and
there's
here's
that
Ben.
verse that talks about that light. If the light in you is dark, then that darkness is like
how great
really,
is that
really
darkness?
big and great. And I think that it's like that. So if the light that's in your darkest hour is fear, you are full of so much darkness, and you are living in so much darkness that. And he says it. He knows it. He says the light in my darkest hour is fear.
All right, stop.
Denies me of anything good.
Give me a second, Ben. Okay, you got to go for that, bro. If you're an admin, do me a favor and block Ben. Goth Mama, put him on a timeout for the rest of the night. You're gone, Ben. Holy shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? So here's Ben. On a physical level, come on, bro. That wasn't right, man. Ben, you got to have a fucking line that you do not cross with people, bro. Holy shit. So Ben goes, on a physical level, a miscarried child usually requires nobody's input. Nobody's wrong for body's functioning how they do. Being upset by a miscarriage is like being mad over an ulcer. Ulcers happen. Okay, so he says that dumb shit.
But
Ben, as a man, this is the real ironic thing, because this usually comes up in the other discussion. But as a man, Ben, why are you so confident in pontificating about how women should feel about losing children? You've never been in that situation, Ben. Now, I see the initial phrase to me was an uninformed person who doesn't know what he's talking about. So then Sadie responds by saying, she responded to that nonsense by saying, losing a baby is shattering. And oh no, she said that. Then Ben responded, and then she said to Ben, "That's a clinical view. As a woman who's lost a baby, clinical doesn't compute." Of course,
Exactly.
the other flaw is because Ben is being a consistent abortionist, he's dehumanizing the child in the womb. He's reducing the child to an ulcer.
Was he?
Yeah, he said it's equivalent to an ulcer.
Well, I don't know if he's saying the baby is equivalent to an ulcer or if he's saying the miscarriage. You know, like, nobody made the miscarriage happen. Like, it happened just like an ulcer happens. Like, your body can do something that you can't make it not do.
Yeah, initially he was trying to help, but he was speaking from a completely ignorant standpoint. And then Sadie says that's an overly clinical view. She talks about her experiences, and then Ben responds by saying, "Not all women are stupid, just you." So you got to go.
Jeez, Ben.
It's got to go. It's got to go. You crossed the line, bro. Bro, listen. You know how many women have had miscarriages in this room? Do you know what people are going through in this room? I know you don't, but that's why you need to have a line and shut the fuck up when people are talking about people they love who've died, Ben. Ridiculous. Anyway.
Look, this is to your point.
Don't lose your heart, you'll need it.
Right? Because you're saying the light in the darkness is fear. It denies them of anything good. So don't lose your heart, you'll need it. So maybe love.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, to me, that's kind of what happened with Ben. Like, I know things about Ben other people don't know. So that's why I give him a wide berth. You know, as far as me goes, if he insults me or somebody in my family, he's going to get a wide berth because I know everybody in my family. I know everybody's mental state. I know how everybody's doing. Mm-hmm. But we don't know that about everybody else here. And there are hella people here who we just got done hanging out with some of our village folks who just had a tragic miscarriage, you know. So I understand what he was doing initially. And then Sadie responds, and instead of humbling out and learning from her, which as men we have to do. Like, I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, unless you have a uterus, you can't talk about abortion. Mm-hmm. You can talk about abortion and miscarriages if you're a dude, but you cannot talk about how women are supposed to feel or how they feel about it. Like, I was watching, you know, because I know there's going to be some controversy when our video comes out with the pro-lifers.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And, you know, they want to make it like, oh, you know, anyway, I understand that you feel sad for him, Sadie, and I know that you don't have any personal issues because you've reached a certain stage in your spirituality or whatnot. But there's a lot of people in this chat and a lot of people that watch these videos, so I can't let that go unaccounted for. I mean, he's not like completely banned forever, but there's a line. And no matter how much I love you, I'm not going to let anybody do that on that topic. Anyway, so back to the song. Keep going.
He said the chorus is, and to lose your, because remember he says, don't lose your heart, you'll need it. And to lose your heart, you'll have to take another pill, tell another lie, and lie amongst your lies like Tuna in the Brine. So actually, this is a really important song, I think. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're saying, like, I'm sure that you're right about the love aspect of it. I think that I'm just not there yet. Like, I'm still trying to work out my motives for why I do the things that I do and to not be motivated by fear or pride or anger and just to be... Well, I always think to be motivated by more neutral things, but what do you think? You probably think be motivated by love. And that's... I didn't have that in my equation. I just kept saying, okay, I'm not going to be motivated by...
I'm so confused.
Fear.
Didn't we do this in the family Bible study a couple days ago?
Honey, there's a lot of things we're working on in the family Bible study that
What's driving the car, the fuel for the car?
Yes, but... honey,
one was fear, one was guilt, one was self-interest. And then the good one was love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're doing 2-hour studies... And there are things in the studies that I'm pulling out right now that are very important, and I'm not going to take everything in. I mean, I'm not a god.
I see.
So it's one step at a time. So anyway, I think that, yeah.
So, just for clarity, are you saying that you still believe that fear is a necessary kind of motivator for stuff, or
No?
or what are you saying?
No, I think that I thought that it was a necessary motivator, or not necessary, but that it was efficient because it keeps you vigilant. So if I have to stay awake all night, if somebody tells me you need to stay awake all night, but there's not any like reason, they're just like, okay, I'm gonna fall asleep. But if they say, if you fall asleep, we're gonna slice your throat, I'm not gonna fall asleep.
Okay, let's try this. So there's a guy, and he's got a kid, and there's a bear, and the bear starts attacking him. So he runs for his life. Okay, he was motivated by fear. Okay, what's gonna stop him to do something heroic to rescue that child?
Love. Well, fear and love.
Oh,
Fear that something bad will happen to the kid, but also the love for the child.
Yeah, but he's afraid of for his own self-interest though.
Wait, what? Maybe I misheard.
Fear is making him run from the bear, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be love that makes him turn around for the kid, not fear. Fear would just make you run. The only thing that would make you turn around to save the kid would be love, right?
No, I disagree with you. I think that fear and love are going to make you turn around for that kid. Fear that the bear will kill the child, and love that you want the child alive. So fear and love work together.
That doesn't make sense to me. Because you don't have to necessarily be afraid to rescue someone. I mean, I've been in bad situations that people were like, oh my God, I'd have been afraid, and I wasn't afraid. But the reason I interdicted was because I loved the person that was in the situation. Fear had nothing to do with it. I mean, I wasn't afraid. Like,
I hear what
so
you're
we were in
saying,
the
and
parking
I think
lot that
that's-
day. We were in the parking lot that day, and that dude is abusing that girl. And there were like 3 or 4 dudes there. How come they didn't help her?
Because they were afraid. For themselves. Nobody was afraid for her.
Well, fear is always rooted in the self, though. Fear is always self-motivated. Love can be other-oriented. Fear is always self-oriented.
Are you sure?
Well,
So
give me
if
an
I
example
see-
where you can be afraid of something that isn't self-oriented.
I was afraid for that girl when she was when that was happening in the parking lot.
You were afraid for what, girl?
When the guy was going after her. The parking lot conversation that we were just talking about.
What did you do about it?
Oh, I wanted to get involved, but I couldn't get involved in that. I just went inside.
Why couldn't you have gotten involved?
Well, because it was 2 guys with me.
So you were afraid we were going to stop you?
Yeah, if you 2 weren't there, I would have gotten involved. Make the face that you want to make. And I know that that's, according to you, the wrong plan, but
What do you mean, according to me, the wrong plan?
according to you, it's the wrong plan. But if you were me, I don't think that you would just walk away from a situation where you saw somebody who's...
So that was the first time in your entire life you've seen something like that happen?
I've never been alone when that happened. There's always been other men there.
And you never did anything?
Right, because I know they're not going to let me
Okay,
go.
but if it
go
was
into that.
Sayla, would you just not do something even if the men didn't do anything?
No.
Okay, so what's the difference there?
Love, I guess.
Ta-da!
Or greater fear that it's my kid.
No, it's obviously it's because it's your kid and you love her, right? When it's not your kid, you're not going to go over there. And you're obviously doing some arithmetic like, this is a dude, I'm a woman, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. So fear, God was so afraid that he gave his only begotten son that whoever
No,
believes
of
in him.
course not. I know that sounds silly, but...
I didn't say it sounds silly. It sounds,
but you're
no,
laughing,
it makes hella sense. But what I'm saying is, as Christians, where are you getting this idea that fear should motivate us to do good stuff? Where is that?
Look, I can give you all the right answers.
No, I'm
But I
asking.
don't want to give you right answers. I want to give you what's actually going on in my head. And what's actually going on in my head is that I know that the Bible says that love is the great motivator, but I feel like love and fear can work together. Like, if Well, actually, that was a negative example. I was gonna say. I was gonna go with the when the kid went after Dorian, and then you got like that, like you wanted to protect him. Fear and love were there, but the fear was motivating you toward sinful behaviors. I would say.
When?
Okay, all right. This
When?
is it. Here
When?
it is.
What are you talking about?
When that kid went after Dorian with the stick, and there was that whole altercation.
Oh no,
and
that
stuff.
wasn't fear at all. I wasn't afraid.
You weren't afraid for Dorian?
No. The guy took a stick after him because because that tells me that he knew that Dorian would have put him in the blender. No, that wasn't fear at all. That was okay, motherfucker. And trust did I look afraid when I was going over there to them boys?
No. I'm saying fear that something would have happened to him, and you weren't there to stop it and protect him.
No, that wasn't fear. I was just straight. I was very. I mean, it wasn't good either. Just for clarity.
No, I know it wasn't good.
I don't think I'm. I love people. I love them intensely, and for me, the highest expression of love is that I would be willing to fight for you. Mm-hmm. I'd be willing to kill for you. I'd be willing to die for you. That's because that's where I come from. Mm-hmm. It's not right. I mean, a hug is much better than that, but that's where I come from. So I saw all that shit happen to him or whatever, and I was like, okay. And then the other thing was I go in there and I see all these big dudes that are bigger than him. I'm like, what a bunch of pussies. These guys, you're like, Dorian's taller than me, and these kids are like 3 or 4 inches on Dorian.
Yeah.
And they're not like, they're like 18 to 21 or whatever. So when I saw how big they were, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you guys were that soft? Like, you were bigger than my son, had like 50 pounds on him. You had to pick up a stick. Okay, like I was going to wreck shop. Mm-hmm. But that had nothing to do with fear. I was afraid 2 or 3 days later after, because I said, holy shit, what would have happened if, yada, yada, yada. And the big thing, I wasn't worried about the legal thing. I was worried about Dorian seeing me in that.
Yeah.
Do that. Because that's something that I'm glad that I always had to take trips and I had to be like far, far, far away. When I was, I always think after everything, I'd always be like, damn, I'm so happy that that I really love is seeing me do all this shit. Mm. So, yeah, I don't, because I think my perspective is so extreme because I've been in these like crazy life or death type situations, but I've just never seen fear accomplish anything positive over time.
Oh, I would agree with that.
It's weird because it still appears though that you think that it's necessary for vigilance.
No, I don't think it's, well, No, I don't think that it's necessary for vigilance, but I think that, and I'm kind of, it's probably seeming all over the place because I haven't put a whole lot of thought onto the fear aspect.
Yeah.
Because I've been dealing with more like blame and guilt and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like honestly though, like being in the village and being around these folks and hearing the criticisms of Christianity that when I was in church or whatever, you're taught to rebut them. You're not actually taught to listen to people's problems with Christianity. You're just taught to defend and rebut them. And so when I first came to, we started the village or whatever 3 years ago, we started getting this influx of atheists and they were all talking about fear and religion and all the rest of it. I'm like, what the hell are these people talking about? Because that has never been my experience. You know what I'm saying, with God and religion. I wasn't taught like not the way that you and your family. And I don't really believe that it's a Christian thing as much as something particular to your family. Your family is extremely fearful and extremely neurotic when it comes. I'm not saying it to be insulting. I'm just saying like the stuff that you say and the stuff that you guys are used to is like not normal at all in any culture. And I've been around a few of them. Like the shit that, it's different. So I can't really like attribute that to religion as much as it is the particularities of your upbringing.
I would agree with that. I would totally agree with that. Because I don't see anything, if we're talking about what's in the Bible, I don't see there's anything in the Bible that encourages fear-based motivation. Secondly, the only fear-based motivation that we were taught that was seemingly biblical was you know, lose yourself. You could lose your salvation, or you could land in hell, or you could be the cause of someone else going to hell.
Right.
All of those, which are not, that don't have their basis in the scriptures. That was something that we were taught to be or to feel. And that was supposed to be kind of your motivator. But there was,
Here's
but
Ben.
obviously love was there too.
This time I was timed out for not feeling how someone thinks I should feel. I'm not mad, but I think it sets a precedence I dislike for future streams and how it could affect others. It's ridiculous. No, Ben, you're ridiculous. And Ben,
But it was completely insensitive.
at some point, Ben, you have to grow the fuck up. You're not the only person on the planet. Number 2, I don't give a fuck how you feel, Ben, about her miscarriage, Sori's miscarriage, or anybody's miscarriage. I don't care how you feel about that. Ben, you've said things to me about life and things like that that hurt you, and I listen to you. I don't respond with my silly ass opinion. I don't give a fuck how you feel. The problem is, Ben, is we got people in this room who you know nothing about. You have no idea about their histories. You have no idea about what they've been dealing with currently. And you went off and said some dumb shit like that. That is my problem. I'm not even worried so much about Sadie because Sadie is she's obviously an evolved person who's done a lot of work on herself. So I'm not worried about her. But I know people in this chat who've recently lost children. Ben. So that's my problem. I don't have a problem with you feeling a certain way. I have a problem, though, with you saying things like that and you not being able to have the capacity to understand when to speak and when to shut the fuck up. That's my problem. I don't have a problem with how you feel. You can't control how you feel. That's one of the reasons I haven't permanently banned you or whatever. You can't control how you feel. But you need to apply some emotional intelligence, Ben, and understand that because you don't feel things properly, and you don't, because anytime you hear about a miscarriage, it should always be tragic. And if you don't feel tragic about that, something's wrong with you. But that's okay. Everybody's got to evolve as a person. But I'm not going to sit here and let you say some dumb shit like that or anybody else in this forum, bro.
No, absolutely not.
You know, Ben, I've never heard you complain when we block racists when people say dumb racist shit. I've never seen you worry about free speech then. So... and everybody knows I'm a lover of my people, but I'm much quicker to ban somebody for saying some dumb shit about a miscarriage than I am about banning someone because they're a racist. I don't even have a problem with a racist in here. I was cool with that Nazi dude. I think Zoni and those folks got him banned. They got him banned. But I don't care about that shit. The only reason that those guys get blocked is because they're spamming all the time. But I don't have a problem with them saying they don't like black people or whatever like that. That's cool. So there's a wide berth here, but I'm not going to let you go and say some dumb shit
Cool in
like
the sense of they're honest and you prefer honesty over.
Yeah, you always have to go with honesty over the other shit.
Well, Ben, you've done this to yourself.
Because, Ben, this is the last time I'm going to engage with you on this topic. Because honestly, Ben, you should. This is not shit that I should have to teach you, but I'm going to. Why should I be timed out for respecting Sadie enough to not lie to her? Because, Ben, Sadie's not the only person in the fucking room. And as I said a million times, there's multiple people in here that have had miscarriages. One of which we were hanging out with 5 days ago because I recently lost one. That was my problem. But you're so busy defending your bullshit ideas and your bullshit ways that you come in this room that you can't stop and think. That's the fucking problem. And you're so full of shit sometimes, Ben, honestly, because you send me an email every day about how cruel and evil the capitalists are, and then you come on here and say some dumb shit like that. Look at yourself, bro. It's so easy to look at everybody else and call them all this and act holier than thou. Fucking look at yourself. You're not very compassionate either. It just depends on which people you don't give a fuck about. The capitalists don't give a fuck about working people, and you obviously don't give a fuck about anybody's feelings but yourself. You're the same guy. You and the capitalists, you're the same guy, Ben. Holy shit. We continue. Like Tuna in the brine. I do like the line, though. The light in your darkest hour is fear, and it denies me of anything good. See, that's my thing. I have selfish reasons for being a love-oriented person, not a fear-oriented person. Love-oriented people have a lot more fun. Fear-oriented
Oh, my
people,
word.
fear just keeps taking shit from you over and over and over again.
It's so true because I think that, jeez, do you think that fear is the base for a lot of sins? It seems like it. Like, I know that at the base of my jealousies, when I feel like in a particularly jealous mood, it's fear.
Yeah.
And it does. It like sucks the fun out of every friggin' thing.
Yeah, shout out to Ray Phoenix. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've seen it. You know, and that's why I said people are like water. If you hold them with an open hand, you're much more likely to hold on to them longer. The minute you close your hand, they're gone, bro.
Right.
We're gone.
Take
So there
everything
you go.
you're not, and don't be so scared to tamper with evidence, because you'll come along for the sun if you come at all. I don't understand that.
Well,
Don't be scared to tamper with evidence.
he's saying don't be scared to tamper with tampered evidence.
Oh.
That's really, really good. I think
is he saying?
the person he's dealing with is a liar to me. I think that's what's going on. This person is just constantly lying all the time. See right there? Painting a lie, seeing the colors, but you seem close to everything. So he's saying, you know how when people lie, they have to like lie to back up their lie? Mm-hmm. So like you have to... Like, you have evidence of your wrongdoing, and so you have to tamper with the tampered evidence. You have to put lies upon lies upon lies to make it work.
Yeah.
To make it work.
No, that's true. And the other thing, too, when it says, like, but you seem closer to everything, that's exactly what a lie does. So when you have an assumption about somebody, but you don't have enough evidence to back that up, then you tamper with the evidence, true. And you use that evidence, you paint lies or whatever, and you see colors. Like, you see this whole story out there that doesn't actually exist, and it makes you seem closer to everything, closer to all of your assumptions. And I do think that fear is the worst way to live. Experientially, it makes life long and exacting and tiring, and it sucks the joy out of everything.
It does. It sucks the joy out of the people around you. You know, which is, I think what he's saying, he says, if you even come at all, which is probably a double entendre.
That right there.
He was talking about the sun, because you'll come along for the sun if you come at all. It's probably saying like, you know, this can only function in darkness because liars have to function in darkness. And then he's saying you'll come along for the sun, meaning when the sun rises and the light shines on all the bullshit that you were doing and all your lies, then you're probably not even going to come and face it, because that's how people like that operate, because that's why they're liars in the first place.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, it was an interesting song, interesting vocal style, this guy. And somebody was saying that they had another record that was like more of their premier record, and this is kind of avant-garde, but I liked the lyrics were really challenging, and there was a lot of them, which you guys know I love lyrics. So sonically, it was kind of forgettable as far as the instrumentation goes, but lyrically it was really challenging. So it's a 9.2 for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
9.2. For different reasons, though. I liked it. Was kind of a chilly sort of sound, like a chill song. And I think that the message is important, especially coming from someone who has... See, I always judged my family for how fear-based they were, because I was not as fear-based as they were. And even though I had fear... That's
true.
I would push myself...
That is true. Well, I don't know about your brother. Your brother doesn't seem very... He doesn't seem... But your brother's kind of like on the outside of that, of you guys.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah.
Every time I think about your family, I always exclude him.
Yeah, he's like a
But that's because he excludes himself.
Right, he does.
Shout out to the homie. He's a smart man for you.
Yeah. But, yeah, okay, so I can't remember what I was going to say. But I think we do have to find... Well, the Bible says perfect love casts out fear, and that fear has torment. So that means that fear and love do not work together, and that it has to be one or the other. And I don't want to make decisions or live by fear. I do want to live by love. And I think that if I look to certain circumstances in my life where I was particularly troubled, and I say, oh, what could I have done to be more loving in that situation, and to have had a more loving judgment call on the situation,
sure,
and a more loving response, I think that I could have, ameliorated a lot of pain.
Yeah, I mean...
But I chose to slip into the brine.
You know, just like how, you know, we were talking about that neurotically, that the anticipation of pleasure is actually more pleasurable than the pleasure itself. I think it works the other way with fear. I think the anticipation of fear is actually more taxing than the actual thing, even if it were to come true in the first place.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And that's what I was saying was my parents and my family and a lot of people around me kind of like were motivated by fear. And I didn't want to be like that. And so I would push myself past the fear and find that it was much smaller than was expected on the other side. But then when you stop pushing yourself past fear to see if it really is all that bad, then fear becomes just this giant thing that you can't get around. And it will stop you. It's weird because fear will start taking over everything. It's a completely greedy thing. So, abandon it. Abandon ship. Anyway, 9.2.
9. I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 9.
Switched your number?
Yeah, I'll give it a 9.
See what I did here?
Oh, is that a frown?
Yep.
That fucking guy. Hey, give me patience, Lord. Please.
Lord.
Help us, Lord.
Give him more love.
There you are, dear listener. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
Okay.
God almighty. Yeah, Vlad, you know, anxiety is a hell of a thing, bro. It really, really is.
Oh, God.
And it's something that's generational in my family. And I don't know if it's genetic or epigenetic, you know, internal or external, like, you know, what happens. And everybody has different ways of managing anxiety. You know, I just think for me, like, my thing is, like, if I feel that creeping up on me, like, I take it as a challenge. So I take it as like, oh, okay, this thing is testing you. So, like, we're going to go to war on this shit right now. So I look at it as a challenge. So for me, I'm just this by way of confession, I think. I'm not very good at when people are having anxiety. I'm not very supportive, I don't think. Because I probably
resent the fact.
It depends. Like, you get anxious over the kids. I'm like, well, she's a mom, and so, you know, that's cool because the other one never got anxious over the kids. So I like that. But, like, if it's something where it's like for no reason or whatever, or just plain just fear, and if I perceive that you're not fighting it, or if I assume that you're not fighting it, that you're just surrendering to it, then I get upset at you.
Yeah.
But if it's like something to me like the kids or something like that, and I go, well, that's like normal mom stuff. But, like, there's a whole bunch of other things where there's all this anxiety. I'm like, what? You know, I get that upsets me because I probably think like, oh, that's gonna ruin the whole day or whatever. But a lot of it is just, why can't you fight against it type of thing? You know, and it's not just you. Like, you know, Dorian's very, very fearful. Like, you're talking about Florida. He's like, what about that? Like, every day he's coming to me, and I'm like, come on, bro. Like, really? Like, come on. I have an extremely hard time with it.
I think that, well, dealing with, like, being around you when I'm feeling anxious or whatever, I actually think that you've been actually really good in those situations.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like you've been a real source of comfort in those situations. There are times where you're not, but for some reason I can't even bring up the circumstances in my head. It's just a feeling that I have, knowing that sometimes when I was anxious it didn't go well, and that's when you'd be like, we could be, you know. So I think, yeah, but at the same time, I do think.
Yeah,
I think that sometimes people need to be reminded that there is another way, because I think that there are some people that want to make their lives difficult. Like they just want to be miserable. Like they've decided that misery is what they want, and so it doesn't matter what they get. They're going to find some reason to make it miserable.
Well, is it that they decided misery is what they want, or have they given up on any hope of not being miserable? Because that's not the same thing.
No, that was category 1, was people that have decided that they're just going with it. Then I think that there are other people,
because they think it's never going to happen for them, basically.
Maybe it's interesting to them, or maybe they like the attention that they get when they're in certain circumstances. I mean, you know, we saw people like that.
Yes.
But then I also think that there's some people that have kind of lost the hope that there's another way. And they think the only way up the mountain is to struggle up the jagged rocks, and they don't realize that there is a path also there that they can take. So in that circumstance, I think that that's when people need some reminders that, oh, don't forget the path over there.
Yeah, I've been
love.
Al Kabulon Ogun says major depression, anxiety disorder is a whole nother beast. Nothing helps. I've been officially diagnosed with both of those and a couple other things, like that one specifically. They were worried it was bipolar because my mom was bipolar, but it wasn't. It was just major depression, which is just your across the board.
This is one of the women that's actually in the chat, and thanking you for sticking up for women in their miscarriages and losing their babies, because she's someone who's been through this very recently. So,
yeah.
But I think one other thing too, about fear, is that with it comes a lot of okay, because I think that living in fear constantly is so much torment that you seek for comfort in a lot of different ways. And so
that's true.
You can find comfort in a lot of sinful behaviors because you're just trying to escape from the fear, not realizing that love is what you need to, to cast out the fear. So, sometimes when I'm super anxious, I'll notice that I'm like crunching on a bunch of food. And then after I'm like, why did I eat so much food? And then, I think that it comes down to a lot of, but also I do have some things there's one situation in my life that, is seemingly irreversible, and it's this thing, like the,
huh? Oh, yeah.
So it's this, seemingly very irreversible thing, and it's such a big deal to me that part of me is like, it's kind of helpful to have something that's such a big deal because it makes you realize that other things are not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, anxiety is a hell of a thing. And that's encouraging to hear that you perceive me to be somewhat supportive when you have anxiety, because I don't do a very good job with that. If I have a situation, and I think part of the reason is because I have those official diagnoses. So I got
Jambi's here. Oh, there's Jambi.
Shout out to Jambi.
Hey.
I got in a fight with somebody recently. It wasn't a fight. It was very verbose. The cops came.
They did?
Yeah. Like 5 minutes after.
Surprised they didn't get there sooner, but at the same time, yeah.
Whatever. It is what it is. So I just got, see, that's kind of a weak spot for me, because mental health stuff, when people bring that up to justify things, I don't want to hear it, because I have an official diagnosis. I have multiple official diagnoses, so I don't want to hear it. I'm like, I don't care, because I have the same thing. You're not the only one that has that shit, bro. Mm-hmm. I don't give a fuck. You gotta man up. And the Lord was like, Mm-hmm. I got the sense that
depends.
You're not completely right here.
Yeah, it depends.
But that's the thing. If somebody has schizophrenia or something like that, something I'm completely unfamiliar with, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But if it's depression, anxiety, anything like that, I'm like, mm-hmm. And it's not because I don't think it's real. I know it's real. It's because, I haven't had to function. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just not very supportive in that regard. I'm not very patient. I don't know why. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Probably because I think, look, there's no bad circumstance here. I grew up my life, honestly, it was just one series of mm-hmm. ridiculous insanity after another. And so with these ailments, you don't necessarily, nothing has to happen necessarily.
Oh, I know.
Like that's the thing.
That's
And,
not
and
to be a reason.
yeah, the people that are dealing with it know what I'm talking about, and you know what I'm talking about. There's no like, for example, hyper anxiety. People wake up and immediately they have, it's impending doom is what it's called.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's impending doom.
So
It's
that doesn't mean that something necessarily happened to
oh no,
start that?
98% of the time nothing's going on. Like when I went the first time, the teenage one,
Yeah.
this girl was convinced that she had cancer. She was convinced.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
awful.
I said, well, holy shit, we're in a hospital. Why don't you just take him to the thing? And then she said, well, the x-ray people don't believe me. And I said, so they wouldn't even like do an x-ray? And they're like, oh no, they did the x-ray, but they just wouldn't believe me. And I'm like, that's when I was like, holy shit.
Boy. Yeah.
This girl is so convinced that it doesn't matter what she sees. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, that's a whole, I can't relate to that at all. I don't know what the hell is going on there. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I was just like, I just kind of looked at her. I walked away. I'm saying, because I was in the hospital too. I wasn't in good shape, but holy shit, it was weird. So that, like, I cannot imagine dealing with that, because you can't tell me. I mean, the other kids were saying she was doing it for attention, but I don't know, bro. She looked pretty
Scared.
She looked terrified, and she looked like nobody believes me and yada yada yada. So, like, that was a massively extreme version of it. But you wake up sometimes with the impending doom thing.
Most mornings.
Yeah, impending doom. That's a psychological, ailment.
But I've been like that since I was so young that, I was still in a crib.
Yeah.
But you're saying that stuff can just start out of nowhere. Nothing precedes it that makes you think that you should have.
Yeah, there isn't anything necessary to trigger
No,
an episode
like
of
when it initially
impending
starts.
doom. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I know that now, like, sometimes but you can always find something. That's the thing.
What do you
can
mean?
always find something. Like, if I wake up and I say, like, I feel like there's this, like, just this weight that's on me, and that something is really, really, really bad wrong, and then I start, like, assessing the situation to see what's wrong, what's off, who's not here, where's everybody, what's happening, and then you can always, what are you doing?
Looking for my phone. See what's going on with Jambi. I got it. Go ahead, keep talking. Yeah. Okay.
Oh God.
Gotcha. Yes, impending doom. Man, our folks are beat up today, huh?
Yeah.
That's all right. That's why we're here. We good. Okay, guys, we got another song coming pretty soon. Stand by. You guys know the drill. Commercials here. Ben, I still love you. I always will, bro. I just want you to love other people well. That's all. All right, guys, we're coming right back at the other side of this commercial. Let's go.